Good evening, everyone. I want to call to order the regular meeting of the Perry Municipal Authority. It is August 20th, 2018. Roll call, please.
Colern.
Here.
Gilbert.
Here.
Franklin.
Here.
Hicks.
Here.
Ahern.
Here.
Seabolt. Here. Morrell.
Here.
Stroller.
Here.
Johnson.
Here. I do declare a quorum. Our invocation this evening, I'm going to ask Reverend Ahern to do that, please.
Okay, thank you. Heavenly Father, we come to you with great thanks and gratitude for all the blessings you pour out in our lives, the little blessings and the big blessings. And one of those big blessings is the opportunity to live in this community and be a part of a democratic process to govern and lead our community. So tonight we ask for you to lead us in that democratic process, to make decisions that are well thought out and forward thinking, and most importantly, to make decisions that glorify your name. It is in your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Brian. We'll start with the consent agenda, which only has one item. Receive and approve the minutes of the regular PMA meeting of August 6th, 2018. Have a motion?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Colern.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Seabolt.
Yes.
Morrell.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Thank you. Item 4, let's comments from those assembled concerning the PMA this evening. Comment? Seeing none, we 5 proclamations, commendations, reports, inquiries by the governing body. Staff, council. Seeing none, item 6 is new business. Any new business? Item 7.
Motion to adjourn.
Roll call, Lucy.
Colern.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Seabolt.
Yes.
Morrell.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Thank you. Now I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Perry. It is August 20th, 2018. Roll call, please.
Colern.
Here.
Gilbert.
Here.
Franklin.
Here.
Hicks.
Yeah, here.
Ahern.
Here.
Seabolt. Here. Morrell.
Here.
Stroller.
Here.
Johnson.
Here. I do declare a quorum. Consent agenda is item 1, having A through F. Need a motion to accept as presented or remove any item you'd like to further discuss.
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, Dixie.
Colern.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Seabolt.
Yes.
Morrell.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Thank you, Council. Item 4, comments from those assembled. Anyone need to make comments for the council? Yes. Ms. Rum?
Okay, I'll be super quick. I'm not going to read a letter.
Introduce yourself for the
Oh,
record.
Kayla Schramm, Director of Main Street of Perry.
Thank you.
Alley of Arts is going to be August 30th. Hope to see everyone there from South Side of the Square. I'm really excited. And then I've recently been to a lot of Main Street trainings. Well, it wasn't a lot, it was just for a week in Muskogee. And something that I always mention to my board members that they can always catch us live. So, and I want to do a quick shout out to them because right now we're still in that, it's hard to be a functioning organization as you're rebuilding an organization. And I just really appreciate all the time and effort that they're all putting in this. And I hope every month that comes along, I'm more excited about everything that we're doing. And something just recently, if anyone's seen any of them out and about, is a business advocate type of a program. On my spreadsheet, I have, it's around 50 addresses, that are in our district. And sometimes the idea of me keeping up with those and their needs and their voice and whatnot, and plus they see me a lot more than they see our board members. So we've come up with a business advocacy type of program. And so they've been going around and wanting to be the voice, and we're going to take that information. A lot of the focus anymore with Main Street isn't, of course, it's the preservation of the historic buildings. That was the initial run of Main Streets, and in the past couple of years, as I've explained here before, is that refresh approach, and it's really focusing on that economic development. And so I hope that we're continuing as an organization to rebuild with a lot of focus on that in this business advocate program is definitely going to help with that, so we know what we're providing. I mean, if we want to look at ourselves, obviously we're a nonprofit community organization, but all these downtown business owners, building owners, they're basically our customers. So we have to know what they're needing, what they're wanting from us to move forward as we continue with this, you know, look past fun events and really dig into more economic development. And then, and so with that, if anyone has a chance to look up Donovan Ripkema, he's out of Washington, D.C. He was at our latest training, and he does a lot of statistics, a lot of number reports on the benefits of Main Street programs and the difference between the communities that have one and the communities that don't. So he gives a great job. We all felt like as directors sitting there listening to him, we're like, you're preaching to the choir here. Like, let me bring you to city council. Let me bring you, you know, here or there. So look him up sometime and listen to what he has to say. And what's about it?
His name again is?
Donovan Ripkema. Rypkema.
Okay, thank you, Don. Any questions or comments?
I think I'd like to make a comment. It's something that I worked on this weekend and something that I got really laid out to me today. And it's something that Mr. Franklin is interested in, and you know, a lot of us are interested in, but it pertains to Main Street. And it also pertains to building codes, because that's, you know, one of the main things. And I just want to point something out. Title 11, Section 14-107, it talks about the fact that we can adopt standards which are higher than the current building codes, but it goes on to say that that nothing shall permit or take away from the city the authority to amend such adopted codes to make changes necessary to accommodate local conditions. Okay, that's right out of state law. Now, I kind of wondered what that meant, because every law talks about higher standards and higher requirements. So, I mean, are they talking about that or not? I went back to a 91 AG opinion and kind of wrestled with this, but I kept thinking to myself, to make changes necessary to accommodate local conditions, how can that possibly mean higher? You know? I mean, it just doesn't sound like it. But today I had the opportunity to speak to Chris Henderson. Chris was the planner, and Stillwater was the planner, and Enid is the planner, and Ponca City's helped us out with some tribe issues, some zoning issues. And he is actually on the Oklahoma Uniform Building Code Commission. So he's on the commission that they're talking about. And he says that this means loosening standards, less standards, to meet local conditions. And he said this got passed in 2009, and they all know that, and nobody has made an application to because the procedure is that you make an application to them, you know, and say, because of local conditions, we would like to amend this standard. You got to set out your reason and all of that. This is right along what Ron Drake has been preaching. But he said since 2009, nobody has made a request. He said that Lawton was going to make a request. And he says, you know, it really pertains to existing buildings before I offered, especially downtown areas. So, I mean, he knew exactly what it was, what the purpose of it was for. And so I just challenge those in the positions, you know, if there are things that we can do on a, you know, on a larger scale, you know, this continues to be a problem, but we could address it in this manner. We could attempt to request an amendment, submit it to the commission, and see if the commission would do it. I would like to go through the procedure and see if it could work, and if that could help us with developing downtown. That is that's my suggestion.
And I think,
today.
and if I'm following with you, because I really appreciate that you brought that up, like my more layman's, I guess, way of understanding that would be seeing the benefit of whenever you have two buildings next to each other, one that's vacant or, you know, being used as storage, you know, the risk of that being a fire hazard versus one that's being utilized and, you know, is expected to go up to this X amount of standards that just becomes unaffordable, that compared, and then there, you know, the worry of the risks involved in that one that's being renovated versus the one that's sitting next to it vacant.
Right.
I mean, it's much more of a fire hazard than that one next to it.
Right.
You know that the roof is leaking if somebody's living upstairs. You know, I mean, a business owner or a person living there is going to be calling in those complaints versus a building that's sitting there.
Mhm.
And so I think
Yeah, it
that's
would
kind
go
of
to that, it would go to specific, you know, the specific requests, if there's requests which are, you know, which are fairly consistent. It's really dealing with code sections, you know, those code sections which set out specific requirements and say, why can't we relax this code section? There are local conditions that would make that such, like we want to revitalize our downtown and put things into buildings where there aren't. I don't know, perhaps I mean, if nobody has done it and there's a law that permits it, why not try?
Well, my whole thing though is if nobody's done it, and there's all these downtowns being redone here, why are we the ones having worse issues?
Well, I'll tell you, that's a good question.
That is a good question.
But I'll tell you what Chris said. He said a lot of that is within the decision of the building official, that the building official does in fact have discretion on many things. And then there's the ability to appeal the building official's decision to what in our code is the Building Code Board of Appeals. It's rarely met. I actually took a shot at amending it and making it a little bit broader. Actually rewrote the ordinance this weekend too, and have put that kind of in the form of opinion. I sent it to Russ to look at, and I'm trying to come up with some methods that we could do some things locally, and then things that we could do there. But you know, according to this, you know, if you want to amend the codes and make it less restrictive, it requires the request made to the Oklahoma Uniform Building Code Commission. However, there are things that can be relaxed inside the decision-making of the building official, and then there's the right to appeal that to our board. And I'm working on some amendment language there, so just
So would high cost be a local issue?
you know, it would mostly deal with sections of the code, like, you know, not sprinkling in a given case because there's, you know, two means of entrance or access, and what those means of access need to be. Does it need to be a full-scale, expensive one, or could it be done in another way? You know, the local condition is we want to renovate our downtown.
That's right.
And we want to do it in accordance with code, but we need to do it so that folks, you know, are willing to invest. And just what you said, that, you know, that a vacant building versus one that's occupied, the one that is occupied is much less of a chance of there being an issue there to start a downtown fire than one that's vacant that kids could
It'll at least
throw.
be noticed, because
Yeah,
there's
it'll be
somebody living there.
Somebody will scream.
Well, there's smoke detectors up. I mean, it could be
Well,
hooked
and then,
into the
and
fire
then not
department.
even just like with cost though, I think that there are downtowns and cities that have, they've had to adopt certain codes because they didn't have the water pressure for certain, I think they only had the water pressure, available for residential sprinkler systems versus the commercial. And so in order to be able to move forward and still, you know, be safe, but to move forward still, I think they adopted, you know, the use of residential sprinklers.
Okay.
And so I think that that's, I mean, to say that's not just a high cost issue, but just a availability issue.
Well, there's no doubt it's regulated by state law, and state law mandates what codes that you adopt. And state law has this building code commission that you can go ask for waivers from. You can also do things inside of your municipality, but, you know, I mean, full-scale waivers, you know, I'm the lawyer, so I'm looking at the law. You know, there could be some communities doing lots of things, you know. I think that we can have more flexibility within our building official. We can have appeals to the Building Code Board of Appeals. We could try modifications to this commission, but, you know, now that I've spent some time and looked into it, I think that I can help with a path. And we solved one issue today, so we're doing it one issue at a time.
So I would say personally, I'm very supportive of that. I'll just give you a quick example. We own the Hair Naturally building, and we lost our insurance for the building this year because of it being 101 years old. So trying to secure new insurance, one of the problems was that the upstairs was empty because of the risk of exactly what you're saying. No one knows what's going on up there. But yet, when we are looking at renovations, we're stuck because of the building code and the cost to try to start renovations there. And if it's that black and white, then that building is just frozen in time.
Untouchable.
Exactly. And we're struggling just to get insurance. Just because the upstairs is empty.
Yeah, I had
That's crazy.
I had the same issue. I had to go out into the spot market and my
Yeah.
insurance tripled.
I believe we'll get it. It's gonna be very expensive. Just
And that's
because,
for the
just
full
because
roof.
of the upstairs being empty. That's crazy.
Mhm.
Because my wife and I want to invest in the downtown community. We have invested, but we want to invest even more, but we're stuck right now. And I say that personally, but I know there's a lot of people that are in that same situation. So I'm very supportive. I don't know exactly what the best route is, but I'm very supportive of looking at some alternative options to be safe and to loosen whatever it is that's holding us back.
I'm in the same situation with my building downtown. I would like to move into the backside of it and make an apartment, but I changed the use of it from strictly commercial to commercial and residential, so we have to look at how do we rezone and all of the other things that go along with it, including the sprinkling program. And I'm going to be living there on the ground floor. It's not like I'm living above, and I still need to sprinkle.
Well, you know, I would love to take that one. I think that one is a good one up. When you're not on a second floor and you've got means of, you know,
Well, I have three
of
entrances.
in and out, what's if the
There's no sense.
code says sprinkle, that doesn't make sense to me.
Makes no
If you
sense
have,
whatsoever.
if you have doors. So, I mean, that is a perfect example of what I'd like to try.
And the sprinkler systems, tell me if I'm wrong, but you're looking at $30,000 for a relatively small building to sprinkle it to code with all of the high pressure systems and valves and pipes and everything else that goes through there. And that is just cost prohibitive. It'll kill my project if I have to go through a full-blown sprinkler system. It may even kill it if I have to go through a residential system, simply because of the cost.
Well, the good thing is, we've got a guy on there that's been a city planner for
Yes.
40 years, and he's on the commission. So I now see,
See a
you know,
pathway?
Yeah, I see a pathway,
Wonderful.
and let's just see if it works, you know? But that's a real good one, because you know, you can provide alternative remedies for escape.
That's right. And to our building walls, to firewalls, and all of that stuff that I can put in during the renovation that minimize the possibility of fire spreading to my next door neighbor.
I've asked Kayla to, through her resources, check out some insurance options that might be available through Ron Drake or through the historical bunch who go through these buildings every day and see if there's any options there for.
I think that we need to have some kind of forum to talk about our codes for this situation. Because there's a lot of sounds like to me there's a lot of need and a lot of more understanding that we need as a city for the situations we got. It's been brought to my attention that we have now signed, I don't know if it's a waiver or what it is, to cut out the state fire marshal. And now our fire inspectors are, was Dave Surratt and Quigley guy. I don't think they're qualified. I believe that if we're gonna have fire inspectors, it should be our fire chief or assistant chief, or, that's just my opinion. If we're gonna cut out the state fire marshal, I don't believe it should be our code inspectors. It's just my opinion.
Well, I was unaware of that, so it's news to me.
Yeah, that's news to me too. When did that come down and how? Okay.
Been a while.
Well, it's all related to Main Street, so I think we can,
It's all your
discuss it,
fault,
but-
that's what you're saying. That's what
Well,
you said.
you know, one reason though that I haven't brought
Glad you
it
brought
up
it
is I
up.
just don't, I mean, I don't have the answers. I can, express, much more in layman terms than
Let
Mr.
me address that
Kennedy
in
even.
the best way I can, from memory, and, how well that goes. But the application or submittals to the state fire marshal were taking so long that you couldn't borrow enough money to wait on them if you're trying to purchase property. And so to give that a little bit of fast track, our code enforcement officers went to some courses, got certifications to where they could do these renovations on bringing electric up to code, or bringing gas connections up to code, and that type of thing. I know when I had to replace my 2 water heaters in my building, they came over, checked it out, made sure that it was done to the new code, and they could do it. Before, if there's a gas connection, it had to go to the state farm. Or as Dave would say, to the state. He always used that when he didn't want to make a decision. So we're trying to make a difference here and give timely responses to people. And so we had our folks with that assignment. Now, to do an inspection on a commercially installed kitchen or fire protection, I think that's a whole different story. Or an inspection of an apartment house, I think it's a whole different story. But for some of our little stores and shops going in, 3 months, 6 months can make a difference if it's gonna start a business or not. And the state fire marshal was just taking way too long to get around.
And I
to
think
service
too, that
small
I was under,
businesses.
and I could be wrong, but I was under the understanding that it wasn't common for everything to get sent to the state fire marshal on projects.
Well, I agree totally, but I've been on the council for over 9 years, probably 10 years now, I don't remember, but anyway, it just seems like we have code issues nonstop, and I'm tired of it. And I know we've got way off base here, but,
Yeah, we're on comments.
but,
It's
We could have
It's
a whole day
important though,
session
yeah.
just on this alone.
yeah,
But I just don't believe, I mean, we got enough issues with our code guys settling little things. I just don't think that we need to be, and I agree totally with you. I think that we gotta cut out the state fire marshal. But I don't believe that those guys are the right guys for all situations.
Well, I agree too. And Dixie's made a note of everything we've said, so we'll see about putting together a forum or a discussion where we can set as a public meeting for discussions in that with all interested parties.
And I would love to be involved and help as much as I can, even if it's
Well,
just.
you will be involved.
Yeah, you'll be there.
What I hear.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I was pointing at you. Did you want to say, yeah, you want to say anything?
I can.
No, it's all right. I'd rather get
No,
out
I
done.
have a complaint. I've had a complaint for a long time.
You gotta come up here.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
You gotta make an official complaint.
Since I sell real estate, and I have somebody plumbing inspected, I have somebody who's actually certified to be an inspector. If we have something as small as a hot water tank that is put in by a certified hot water person, you know, to put something in, or electrical, and they're certified, why do I have to have the city come over and check theirs? It's a check on check on check. And if they're certified to install that stuff in, they shouldn't have to be checked on. That's my
Yeah,
complaint.
I agree. I have a state license in engineering and one in land surveying. I don't have anybody checking what I see after I see it. I do have staff members who do quality control and quality assurance within the firm, but that's where.
And along those lines, in some of these projects we have going on, there's architects that put a state stamp on it. And all
Yeah,
our,
those aren't good enough now.
well, they should be.
Should be.
They're qualified to design it. And after that, to me, all the enforcer should be doing is looking to make sure that the guys doing the work are doing it to the plan.
That's right.
That's right.
I agree.
Well, I want hot water tank as a big topic, because that drives me nuts. That we have to have someone come in there when a homeowner wants to change their hot water tank. I think that's ridiculous.
Well, I think that's more to say, if I put the hot water tank in, and I'm not a certified person, that's the reason the inspector's gonna come, but I think if it's a guy.
Insurance is for.
No, they don't have to come, if you put it in yourself, they don't have to come.
No, I'm saying if, I agree, okay, but if someone was unqualified, that's when they should come inspect it. But if
Yeah,
you got a
I'm just
licensed plumber that's been in business for 30 years,
Yeah, I agree.
And
they
I'm
shouldn't,
just
they
saying,
shouldn't
if you
have
put it
to.
in, nobody has to inspect it.
I had one do mine, and they had to come check it.
That's what I'm saying, it should be, it kinda should be flipped in my mind, you know?
Yeah, gas connections are just too dangerous not to be done by licensed people. And, I used to do my own electric work till I got a shocking result one time. That was before I moved here, folks, so you don't have to worry about it.
We can tell.
The whole discussion revolves around the safety for the citizens and for the people and the community. So, has to be the focus on any of those.
Bryce and I had a lengthy discussion about this today. He wanted to bring it up, and I'm glad we did, and I know every one of you are interested, so we're gonna put together something and discuss this, not only as a council, but I think everyone who's having to deal with this, who wants to build, wants to remodel, should have a forum to discuss that. We'll do it. Right, Dixie? You bet. You bet. Item 5, proclamations, commendations, reports, inquiries by the governing body. I'd like to report that we have had a number of business openings in the last month. They've all gone great. They've all been greatly appreciated, even the ones I could not attend. I'm sorry. I went to one Friday night, and it was fun. It was. I had to leave to go to grandkids' ball games, but you know, the time I was there, it was a lot of fun. There was over 1,000 people showed up. I've heard much over 1,000. So, to all of you that attended, thank you. To all of you business owners that take a risk on Perry and its citizens, thank you, and we're greatly appreciative of everything that comes our way. Any other comments from anyone else? Thank you. We'll have a city manager's report. Sir, would you go? Okay. I'll go ahead and do some of that. You'll see in section 6 of Messenger, it describes most of the things that are going on. Citizens, you can pick up a copy of this at City Hall, or it's available on our website, along with the advocate, which is another informative document that's on our website. As y'all know, the electric department got that award last meeting we had. Congratulations to those guys, our Brian Williams, Journeyman Lyman, Dwayne Corzine, and Dale Shoemaker. Those guys work hard and deserve a pat on the back almost every day. I had a comment from a guy that came through today to visit with me from the state. He's the director of the railroads for the state Department of Transportation. And he said, this is one of the cleanest cities I've ever been in. So to the parks people and their street people, thank you. It's a great comment to receive. We want to just, there in the Advocate today, or in your packet also, there's the article about the airport, the Envoy. I call it the Advocate, the Envoy. That's a great little article. It's very true about small public airports, and they're becoming more and more important, more and more used, and we just need to keep our airport up, keep it going, keep it advertised, and keep pumping gas out there because it's drawing more and more customers all the time. Anyone else want to say anything along those lines? Thank you. We'll move on then to item 7, our Chief Financial Officer's report.
Well, you guys can open the financials. Probably not going to be the highlight of what we really want to discuss this evening. But just for a couple of highlights, you guys can see 8% is kind of our number. You'll see that pretty much everything is within budget on what we expected. Yes, the ballparks expenses are over a little bit for the month, but that's more of a seasonality issue. So don't worry about that. As far as dollars go, one thing to note, our hotel motel tax finally back up over 17,000. We actually cracked $20,000 for the month, so that was a good number as far as hotel motel tax goes and getting those dollars back in. On the utilities, nothing that really kicks out of budget. This is actually why this month I've chosen a little side light to maybe talk about some of the projects and some of the other things we did during our planning session, kind of setting down, working out. Last week we kind of went through and worked out a game plan on what it is. I handed out to you guys an extra piece of paper as we sat down tonight. What this piece of paper goes through, for those of you that have your magnifying glasses, yeah.
I got
Come
my
on, where's the chuckle? That was my joke for the night.
I brought my best readers.
Well, the whole purpose of it, making it so small, is so that I can tell you what I want you to hear, and you don't read something into this that I don't want to. But I can always go back and say I put it in front of you. See, I've got method to the madness here. Method
You
to
got
the
hit in the
madness.
head some time.
So if
Probably-
anybody has questions, I can see it fine. Don't listen to him.
Derek will be my guy. He will verify that what I'm telling you is on this piece of paper. How's that? Okay. We'll go with that. Bottom line, what we've done is kind of break out the funding sources that we have for long-term capital projects. As you guys remember, during the budget, we left out capital projects from our operating budget because we have these committed funds that we've already borrowed the money for that are going for specific projects, some of them, and some of them were kind of open-ended on how we make this play out. Well, based on bond spend down requirements, those kind of things, we do need to kind of start getting some final game plans on a couple of things that we want to do, get some of these capital dollars spent and move on down the road so we can keep our tax exempt status of the bonds. So in doing that, what I've done here is kind of break it out. The 2015 sewer bonds, the 2016 street bonds, the 2016 capital outlay bond. As you remember, that street bond that we pledged the 1 penny to, we divided that into 3/4 of it was going for streets, another quarter of it was going just for sales tax. So I split those out into 2 columns. Then in 2017, we did a refi on the ballpark, but we borrowed the extra money for the AMR, the automatic meter reading piece. So that we have that in here. And then what I've done is I've gone ahead and issued a last column, because as we talk down through these projects and as we kind of talk about what is left out here to be done, we kind of come to a point that based on spend downs and based on the dollars that we're going to commit to these projects, we're going to run out of money. And so we are going to need some additional money. And so I've added an end call, which is a new issue for the 2018 and we'll talk about that, exactly what it needs to be and how we're going to quantify those numbers as I go through this. But bottom line, that's what it is. Currently, right now, this schedule kind of gives you what all the funding status is for everything that we've committed to. As you can see, the sewer bonds, if you come down to this bottom line, we'll have $11,000 left in that sewer bond whenever we finish doing the projects that we're talking about. Under the street bonds, we'll still have almost $800,000 sitting in there. The 2016 capital outlays, we'd have $759. Out of the AMR bond, we'll have about 156,000. Again, keep in mind, I'm gonna tell you guys how we're gonna use that here in just a second, but that's kind of where we go if this game plan is enacted and these kind of things work. This was kind of a collaborative effort. The mayor was there, Larry was there that day, Bryce and Dixie and I. We were sitting down just talking about, all right, based on what we have on the agenda, what we have left to do, how do we want to fund these projects? So there's really three main projects that we have left that are going to get funded out of these dollars that are left. The first one is phase 3, the stroller line of the sewer project. It's about $750,000. If you could see this, and Derek will verify this as I read it, but right now we're planning to pay about $250,000 out of the sewer bond because that's where we have enough money. And then we would pay another $500,000 out of the capital outlay dollars that we have set aside. That would fund the $750,000 for phase 3. Phase 4 of that project, which is the lift station, the plant work and all of that, that's actually probably the more important part, is another $1 million. And funding that $1 million is really where we don't have any funds left. Depending on what happens with our AMI project, which would be the third project that we're talking about. Right now, we're estimating that that's going to come in, if we would have awarded it the first time to the highest bidder that we were choosing, it would have been about $1.6 million. Okay, so we're hoping that whenever we rebid this, that it'll at least come in that $1.6 million range, if not less, whenever it comes out. So that $1.6 million would be the third project. All of this runs out, we're short effectively $850,000 to $1 million. Again, we don't have final quotes and final bids on what we would look at for the sewer phase 3 and what we're going to look at on the stroller line. But both of those are phase 3 and phase 4 of the sewer. But both of those, it doesn't matter which way we look. Right now, we're anticipating to be about $1 million short on our next project. That's where, we have to come back and determine, well, how would we fund to do these three projects? How would we finish funding those? And one of the things that we had talked about, and kind of as we left the work session that day, it was kind of understood that, hey, I think we're all right with potentially increasing some fees dedicated directly to sewer debt retirement, so that we can get both of those, phase 3 and phase 4 of the sewer project taken care of. So that's what we built in here on this schedule. So in summary, I don't know exactly how much that's going to be because I've got a couple of variables out there. We've got the engineer's final estimates that we don't have nailed down just yet. We won't do that.
For phase 4? Is that what you're
For
talking
phase
about
4,
now?
right,
Okay.
for phase 4. And also, I don't know how much money is going to be left over from the AMI, from the automatic meter interface. Once we get, and your agenda tonight is going out to bid for that meter. It's got to apply this agenda items here, so we can make sure that everybody's on board to go do that part, and then turn around and we'll finish talking about that. Once we go out to bid and we get that number, we'll be a step closer. If that number comes in at $1.3 million, then I have $450,000. That means I only need to borrow $650,000. See what I'm saying? If it comes in at $1.6 million, I need to borrow $800,000, based on what those estimates are. But that, guys, in a nutshell, is kind of where we are on these three remaining capital projects and the three pieces that we kind of still have setting out there that we discussed that day. We want to get these done. We want to move forward on this. So from a funding standpoint, tonight, that kind of what I want is that discussion of, are you guys okay with that funding strategy? To me, it's the most logical of using the funds that we have. Yes, there were some other things that were on the list that we had that we potentially talked about doing, but when we really cut it back to what do we have to do and what do we need to get done now with the dollars that we have and put in place, for DEQ requirements, for employee safety, for, those kind of things. These were the three main projects that we needed to do. I hate that Larry's not doing well tonight and isn't here to talk a little bit more to that, but that was the discussion that we had. That was kind of the meeting of the minds and the knock down, drag out fight. Whenever we got to the end of the day, these three were kind of the pieces that we said, hey, let's get this part done. and getting the sewer finished, completely, you know, the dollars that we've planned on, the phases that have been engineered, the things that we've talked about, get that out of our hair and get the AMI implemented, were our two big deals. And so this funding mechanism will get that done. I don't know today if we're gonna need to borrow $650,000, if we're gonna need to borrow what that final number is we're gonna borrow. But I can tell you that we are going to be short some money on that. So we need to kind of keep that in mind. And to the extent you guys are comfortable with that game plan, let's move forward then as we get on later in this agenda, sending the AMI out for bid. We'll go back and we'll get some final numbers and some hard numbers from engineering on phase 3 and phase 4. You know, making sure that we can really tie those dollars down. And then really sometime October, first part of October, whenever we actually award the bid for AMI, we'll come back with another set of numbers of, all right, this is what we need to go out and borrow to get us there. And kind of here's gonna be the funding mechanism that's gonna make that thing happen.
Wasn't there a REAP grant or some kind of grant for the phase 3?
There's
CDBG grant.
It's a CDBG, and yes, in that application, we have not heard.
How much was that? Do you remember?
159,000. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I just asked her last week and she said it'd probably be September, maybe October before we know.
Which, again, another funding source that can play into this overall picture. At this point, I'm not counting on any state money, you know, and pass-through grants. But if we do, yes, that money's out there. Yes, we have the potential commitment of it. We were already doing the project, so it would also help lower that number that we would need to finish these out.
All right, you're still gonna be short.
We're still going to be short. Yeah, it
Short
doesn't
less.
matter. We're going to be short less. You
It's
know.
just another variable that.
Right.
Correct, right. And in the timing of, and that's why I'm saying October, you know, I mean, in the timing of how we get these things done, I don't want to go out and say, oh, let's go borrow $1 million today. And then we get to the first part of November when we finally let all the bids and all the final numbers come in and, oh, we didn't need $1 million, we only needed 350, 400,000, you know. You guys are gonna look at us and go, you guys are smoking dope, you know? No, we're really not.
Which is the next item.
It won't be. We'll only smoke it if we had our medical marijuana card, okay? And we won't come to work. All right. So that's kind of where we are. Comments, questions?
Really
All right.
don't listen to him.
Hold on. All right. Hold on. I need a clarification here. I need a clarification because whenever I started working in public accounting, I had one of the seniors that I worked with. Every time something went wrong and every time it didn't work out, she always said, man, I must be smoking dope. And that was her deal. I'm smoking dope. Well, I must be on drugs. I'm smoking dope. And I bet she said it 1,000,000 times. So it really came from Tara many, many years ago. It didn't have anything to do with the ordinance that Bryce is about to get you guys to pass. And no, she didn't smoke it. So just clarification for her mom if she ever gets this YouTube video that I was talking about her. No, she wasn't on drugs.
Thank you. I still don't feel better.
The deal is, do we want to continue and complete projects we committed to, that we've committed engineering time to? And the sewer project to me is one, we replaced 100-year-old systems, and the lift station and the work at the plant, it's work we got to do. And I want to continue that project. I want the AMI project to go through mainly because of what it will do to modernize our system, and I think be a better accounting of what's being used or not used. And the sidewalk project is one of these three. We've already committed funds, we've committed engineering fees. We got the state to commit to us on a large portion of the cost of this, and I'd like to see those three projects continue. If you have any discussion or discrepancy with that, then we want to hear it.
I'm in favor of moving forward with those projects.
I'm in favor of moving forward like it's outlined, but I would have to point out, if you set the AMI aside, you don't have to go borrow the $1 million. But you lose the AMI, which is very needed.
it's, yeah. All three of those are very needed, and I'm in favor of doing whatever it takes to get those three projects done.
Well, just looking at all of you, I hope you all have that same consensus. We'll move on to the next item. If there's not any further discussion. Thank you. We'll move on to item 8. Consider approval ordinance 2018-17 of the City Council of the City of Perry, Oklahoma, amending Chapter 1 of the Perry Municipal Code 2018 supplement entitled General Provisions by the amendment of subsection B of section 1-112 by adopting and incorporating by reference into the Perry Municipal Code 2018 supplement Title 37A of the Oklahoma statutes as amended, providing for the maximum fines and costs, and providing for exceptions, and providing for a new subsection E, providing for drugs and related substances, providing for repealer, savings, codification, severability, effective date, and declaring an emergency. As y'all read in the background, and I know you have, I hope you looked in the back in section 8 at the state ordinances here, or the state laws here. It's kind of shocking to me how, what it is, but still, that is state law. And so we as a city must make some adoptions of our own. And this is one of them that Bryce is bringing to you. I hope you've read through it. And in some of our cases, even prayed about it. But we need to approve this 2018-17 and then vote for emergency. Any discussion? Please feel free. Do I have a motion?
I've read it over. It's something that we have to do, and like you said, with reading it over and maybe prayer involved also. I don't agree with a lot of it, but that's what it is. So I make a motion to approve ordinance 2018-17.
Second.
Have a second. Roll call, Dixon.
Colbert.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Seabold.
Yes.
Morrow.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Motion on emergency.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, Dixie.
Colbert.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Seabold.
Yes.
Morrow.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Thank you, council. Move on to item 9. Consider approval of ordinance 2018-18 of the City Council of the City of Perry, Oklahoma, amending Chapter 18 of the Perry Municipal Code 2018 supplement by the amendment of subsection B5 in section 17201 to be entitled Residential and Commercial Distributed Generation Customer Rates, establishing a rate and customer charge for wind, solar, or other grid-connected, non-utility-owned electric generating customers, herein referred to as residential and commercial distributed generation customers, providing for repealers, savings, codification, severability, and declaring an emergency. This takes out of the residential ordinance we passed last year and adds in commercial to it. Any questions or comments?
Could you explain what that meant? Are you putting
Bryce,
a
would you
fee
take
on
that
it?
on?
Yeah, it means that folks that put solar cells on their roofs, they get a special rate where we recoup the fixed costs of the system, and then at a certain rate, monthly rate, and then they get a discounted electric rate up to 800 kW. We enacted it for residential customers, and quite frankly, that's how OMPA came out originally. Their whole plan was to adopt this for residential customers. when I contacted OMPA, I asked, what about commercial customers? Well, we haven't figured that out yet. And that's what they said. And industrial customers, just forget about it. You know, I mean, that's going to be a while. Well, we started adopting in some of our other cities, both for residential and commercial customers. And, you know, this has picked up a little bit quicker than we thought it would be. We're getting all kinds of press now that there's new businesses that are building it with, with solar cells and the like. And so if we're going to provide this protection so that we can continue to get our fixed costs, we need to apply it both to residential and commercial customers. You know, I came over today through Covington, and it just is such a lesson again as I came through and looked off to the east and saw that vast field of solar cells, you know, owned by OG&E. You know, if you don't think it's coming, drive out there and take a look at that field, because I don't
It's
know
impressive.
I don't know how many football fields there are there, but it is large, and they were all turned east when I came by, you know, catching that sun. So we need to make sure that we can handle our fixed costs, and we're just asking that you extend that same ordinance that applied to residents to commercial customers. That's exactly what this does.
Motion to approve ordinance 2018-18.
Second.
Roll call, Dixie.
Kildare.
Nope.
Okay. Gilbert.
Yes.
Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Seabold. Yes. Morrell.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Motion on emergency?
Second.
Roll call.
Kildare.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Seabold. Yes. Morrell.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Thank you, council. Item 10, approval of certain agreements with Blue Badger Investments of Perry LLC and Oklahoma Limited Liability Company. A, consider approval of First Amendment to the Economic Development Agreement with Blue Badger Investments. Did I say Badger? Blue Badger Investments of Perry LLC and Oklahoma Limited Liability Company for the lease with an option to purchase of real property currently shown as, or known as, Seth Wiley Ford downtown. You read in here, this amendment is necessary because of the lease considerations first written were for include a New Holland and an auto connection down at Willow.
Motion to approve.
Second.
So can we, before we vote, what I don't understand, I think there is, at least I was a little confused, is this lease is for down here, and they weren't gonna do an auto connection or a New Holland down here.
It's zoomed out there.
I'm
Yeah, it was-
confused on why that's a,
It was part of the consideration down here for us to lease that to him for no consideration for 2 years. I wanted to get all the considerations, so I wanted to get the promises that as part of this
Okay.
lease, they would do everything they said they were gonna do out there. I tried to kind of connect the two, and that's why we now have to step back in both documents and correct that which is no longer currently true. Certainly with their with the effort that I think we've shown, they're willing to do more if they can do it. And that's why in the next deal, they want to keep a right of first refusal on some of the other land, because, I mean, I certainly intend in discussions with them, I think they intend to do as much as they can do.
Further questions or comments? Dixie, roll call.
Kildare.
yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Seabold. Yes. Morrell.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Item B, consider approval of the economic development real estate contract with Blue Badger Investments of Perry LLC and Oklahoma Limited Liability Company. This is the revision, as Bryce was discussing just now, about the properties in which they will be committed.
Yeah, and I think we can formally say now that we acquired the Lagoon property, which of course was contingent upon the whole deal, and why we haven't gotten a signature up till now. Because that was kind of contingent upon the deal, and Alicia Hotel and Two Guns, you know, we thank them for coming through. We paid them $10,000 for their property, and they were, you know, they gave us the property rights to the road. And then they were so fair with respect to the property, really a couple really good companies in Oklahoma. Former owners of the Holiday Inn Express that sold, kind of all related, but really kind to us. And of course, what we did is we took out the items that won't be done. We gave them, you know, they had the right to, or they were going to purchase those 5 lots on the south side.
South of Cedar.
Yeah, south of what we call Cedar, you know, that runs to the south of Vance. And those are now first right of refusal. So if we're going to sell them to anybody else, we have to go ask them first, look. And then I even put in there, they have to, it's not a matter of money, they've got to match the deal. I mean, they've got to come up with significant economic development. It's not a matter of just matching a price. So, I mean, I think we locked that down pretty good. And they have been just wonderful to work with. I mean, there's been give and take the whole time, but they've been wonderful to work for. So, I mean, I 100%, you know, at least from my side, approve this agreement.
Roll call, Dixie.
We don't have a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
In a second. Did I hear anything?
Second.
We did A, but now we're doing B.
Okay, let's do B. Go ahead, Dixie.
Color.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Sebo.
Yes.
Oral.
Yes.
Streller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes, thank you. We'll move on to item 11.
Before we leave this, I want to commend Bryce.
We're killing trees?
In all the 20 years plus I've known him, he's never produced a set of documents more confusing and more involved than this set.
Thank you. I appreciate it, particularly the confusing part.
The love at this table. Anyone that would.
That's where we just take his word because we don't understand what he says.
No, it's all in there.
He even made it big enough for us to read.
He's not trying to hide it from you like I do.
No, he just dazzles us.
And he's also over there blushing.
He was gonna bore you to death. I was just gonna blind you.
Exactly. Been a long day.
We have item 11. Consider approval of payment of an invoice in the amount of $33,510 from R.L. Shears, P.C. for design and consulting services on the sidewalk project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Color.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks. Ahern.
Yes.
Sebo.
Yes.
Morrell.
Yes.
Streller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Item 12, consider approval of advertising for automated meter system for electric and water meters, set date for receipt of bids, approve specifications, contract, appoint an ad hoc committee to review the proposals.
We had a meeting, I think Russ talked about it. We changed up the RFP a bit. We took some things out of the bid sheet. For instance, we're gonna only bid solid state, right? We didn't bid the other kind. We're only bidding the meters that we really want, as far as the water meters go. We're gonna have a committee, that when these come in, have a committee review them. We wanted, a couple of members, 3, whoever's interested. I intend to post it, so, there's no surprise there. We talked about posting it because the committee may come up with a recommendation of 2, and I don't want somebody to say that this was a that we made the decision in there without following the Open Meeting Act. So we're gonna go ahead and follow the Open Meeting Act when we do that. We've got, we're gonna set up a meeting between the 20th and the 1st to do that. And if there's some members of the council that would like to participate and hear presentations, or at least, discuss it with the folks that are there, are we gonna do that?
No, that was gonna be the discussion. We were gonna bring at least 2 to the council.
Yeah, but we were gonna
on the
have.
first.
Right, but we're gonna have the council meet and go over.
Yes.
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 So, if there's anybody that wants to participate in that meeting, discussing the proposals, and that we have, we're suggesting an ad hoc committee made up
Yes.
with a couple.
Well, that's what we're gonna do. That committee will go over all the proposals. Select 2 to come before the council.
Correct.
All right? I've already been approached by 2 councilmen who'd like to serve on that, Mr. Hicks and Mr. Coldiron. Anyone else who would like to serve on that committee from the council? Take your turn.
Sure, put me on it.
Crystal, thank you.
I would like to bring up that even though it is the background, there is a typo on the date of receipt of the bids for September 20th, 2019.
Hey, we need a little quicker now.
Yeah, I think it's correct on the form. That's an,
Okay, but I
it's
just wanted to
certainly an
bring it up
error on the
background
agenda.
reading.
No, thank you.
Also on that committee be myself and the city manager, I'm sure. But thank you for those of you volunteers, appreciate it. Now, need you to recommend approve the advertisement. Dixie will give us a date that she thinks will work, and we approve that, and approve the specification contract and designated members of that ad hoc committee, as is listed here in the recommendation. I need a council vote on that.
Yeah, can you do it in one motion?
Yes, as long as you can name the 3 of them. Yeah, if you say just put out what's under 12, under tab 12, and designate those 3 people, you can do it in one motion.
Motion to approve everything in tab 12, including Earl Hicks and Crystal Gilbert and Derek Coldiron to serve on that ad hoc committee.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second. Roll call, Dixie.
Kolar.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Sebo. Yes. Moore.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes, thank you very much, council. Any new business need to be brought before us tonight? Anyone with any new business? Seeing none, item 14, sorry.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, Dixie.
Kolar.
Yes.
Gilbert. Yes. Franklin.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Sebo. Yes. Moore. Stroller.
Yes.
Reed.
Yep.